Okay, she's ready. Okay, so welcome everybody. Delighted to have all these faces back, all old timers and new timers. Good to see you all. And a few more people will be joining us. We have 18 people registered. So what we're going to do today, let me preface this with two things. For the newcomers, if you want to listen to any of the meetings we had last year, and you'll see why that may be important. We had different speakers every year on different subjects, and they may be relevant to you. So in a follow-up email that'll come later this afternoon or tomorrow, you'll get the dates of the upcoming meetings for the whole year. You'll get some ideas that I came up with, which you obviously cannot use. You'll see what that means in a minute. And you'll get a link to the council's YouTube account, and there you can see our meetings from last year. So there's that. I also want to start by asking if 10 o'clock in the morning is still good for everybody, or would you prefer it to move to 9? I don't want to start a whole thing of figuring out new meetings. We had agreed on this, but I'm thinking maybe 10 o'clock is not so easy for people who are working. So if the majority would like to move it to 9, we can do that. 10 o'clock okay for everybody? No objections? Okay, so all the meetings will be on Wednesdays at 10 o'clock, and you'll get a list later of the dates. Our next meeting is November 10th, and that will be an important meeting, as you'll see in a minute. After listening to last year's topics, which were wide-ranging and we had good speakers, at our last meeting in May, we were discussing what to do in the coming year, and it eventually went around to, instead of doing more learning, we start taking some action, which I wholeheartedly agree with, that it's time. The planet cannot wait for us anymore. We need to get in the mode of acting. So what we're going to do this year is each institution will pick a project to do. And you'll see from the list I will send around, and obviously you come up with absolutely anything that works for you, your institution, your committee, your congregation, whatever works for you. And then at our next meeting, we will start going around the table. And maybe I think in advance of our next meeting, if you could send to Pam a small paragraph about what you're thinking of doing, and we'll explain this a little further, but just so that we have some idea at our next meeting of what we're going to talk about. And then the year will go on with people reporting, maybe 2 or 3 at each meeting, of what progress they're making, what their project is, what progress they're making. Jack and Bonnie and I, representing the council, will be making site visits to check on the projects as they are further along, maybe in the late winter, early spring. And then at the end of the year, in May, there will be an award ceremony like there are for a few other cohorts within the council. There will be some greening awards given out for projects, advancements, innovation. We'll see what we want to honor. So let's start today by going around. I'll call on you. Tell us where you're from and what your involvement with greening at your synagogue or institution has been. So let's start with Judy Zinger, so that everybody knows who everybody is.
Hi, I'm from Bet Am Shalom. I do the green chevra there. We did manage to get Bet Am to subscribe to community solar. It took a long time, but it was an executive decision that the executive council took, and we're now signed up. We're waiting for Sustainable Westchester to find us an appropriate installation to match up with, which may also take a long time. We're hoping to do food scrap composting, but I don't see that happening. I don't know, I'm hoping. And I was thinking it would be good to start with talking about ESG, environmental social governance investing. Just started that idea, starting to think about how we could spread the word and get information for people, because there's a lot of information out there.
So Judy, that makes me think of something, and then I don't want to take too much time on this time. We'll talk about this next time. But another purpose of each of you having an action project for the year is to educate everybody else on what you're doing, because as a group, we are going to, I'm sure, come up with really useful projects that can be replicated elsewhere. So that that tickled me very much. That last thing, certainly everybody could pick up on that if you get it started. Okay, thank you, Judy. I'm going to skip Jack and Bonnie if she's here. She's not, but I presume she will be. Oh, she is. Hi, Bonnie. We're the two representatives. We're the three representatives from the council committee. So we'll introduce ourselves last. Bob Schloss, if there's another Bob.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
I'm from CSI, which is also where Jack is from. So the biggest success at CSI has been, it's taken about 5 years to use the back of our land and create an organic farm and integrate it into our prayer services and to our Hebrew school. And that has been a brilliant success. So we are now at the point where we can begin, in my opinion, where we can begin to think about what comes next. So as a transition thing, we do have a lot of adult learning classes, some taught by the rabbis, some by the cantor, and some by congregants. So we are having a once-a-month class on solutions to climate instability compatible with Jewish values. So I am actually the teacher of that class. We've had the first session, and that's been great. In terms of a concrete project, there is one congregant, longtime congregant at CSI, Erwin Cavey, who's been the lead on thinking about the physical building. So I hope to be meeting with him next week to pick out candidate projects. So basically that's where we're at. And if I left out anything, maybe Jack will mention it at the end.
Terrific. Thank you, Bob. And thank you for this idea. You brought it up at the meeting in May when we were figuring out what to do. Elizabeth Lambert.
Hi, I'm from Sharai Tikva, and we've done nothing recently. The pandemic really shut us down, and I got a full-time job, and I have not had the time to work on it. And there definitely is some interest, but nobody is going forward. And and I have to do that. Our immediate project would be to get the composting going and to stop using plastic dishware. And Beverly reached out yesterday, and I called her. We have to speak, but we're going to try. We're right around the corner from each other. So hopefully we can do some action items together that would help save costs in some way or whatever. So looking forward to. Yeah.
That's another idea that everyone could listen to, that it would be very appropriate for synagogues or schools to come together and do a project together. That works just fine. So that would be great. Okay, Marlene. Now you're on mute, Marlene.
Sorry.
You're on. There you go.
My name is Marlene Colbert. I'm from Larchmont Temple, and we've actually done quite a bit, although COVID has really shut us down a lot. We actually did a lot in our building. I would need Jane Sable Friedman, our executive director, to tell you exactly all the things, but things like changing the lighting and that sort of stuff. And then we've done the food scrap recycling, and we've changed everything to everything that's compostable, all compostable things in our kitchen. And really, that's sort of where we are now. So a new project is what we have to think about.
Great. Thank you. Karen. Nice to meet you, Karen.
Nice to
and
meet
welcome.
you, Marty. Nice to meet all of you. I'm actually calling from Chicago. You asked where we are. And I am not representing a synagogue, although I guess I could with that hat on. I'm representing Hazon. And I believe you've already had someone speak to this group about the Seal of Sustainability.
Yep.
Yes.
That's the program I oversee, and it's so fascinating to hear what you're talking about in this network that you're creating or you've created there, because it's like a a mini version of what Hazon is designed to do. And I look forward to not only hearing what you're up to, but inviting you to join the Seal of Sustainability to elevate the work you're doing and give you more resources for the things you're talking about doing right now, or projects that you're trying to figure out how to implement, and challenges you're having along the way. Someone earlier spoke about financing. I actually was just on the phone with someone planning our November webinar, which is going to be focusing on finance and thinking much to do that. So I invite all of you to join us tomorrow. I know, Bob, you are, for our SEAL Summit. And B, reach out to me and we can talk about ways in which you might want to get engaged with the SEAL Sustainability to complement the work you're doing within your own Westchester community. I'll put my email in the chat.
Terrific, thank you. Just FYI, I sat on the Seal of Sustainability Steering Committee when it first started, when it was being invented a million years ago.
A billion years
so,
ago.
Yeah,
Great.
so I'm really delighted to hear how far it's come. That's great.
Yes, we keep on working on ways in which to improve it and respond to what our members want us to do. So
terrific. Beverly, unmute. Okay.
Yes, I did. I'm along with Elizabeth, and we have done a renovation as our sanctuary. So that has been a big concentration of raising money and all. We had started this committee probably 2 years ago before COVID. And we got the rabbi and the cantor and the administration along for the ride, and they were positive about it, but we didn't do anything more than that. And we do want to go ahead with a little baby steps, maybe just with recycling and just with signage and just with education. So I'm hoping, Elizabeth, that we can work together and maybe share some of the cost. That's a big concern, the cost. You know,
that's a great idea, and really part of the purpose of this network. So that's great.
And of course, I want to learn. We had, Judy talked about solar. We had someone come in because of the renovation and all, and the new roof, but the price was exorbitant. I mean, he talked about, I wasn't sure I wrote down the right thing. He talked about something like $500,000. I mean, so
Bonnie can help you with with what, whatever state or county or whatever subsidies there are, but that's for another. You two can have that discussion. Bonnie, I will skip you right now. I'm skipping you and Jack. We from the council will introduce ourselves last. I see in the chat there is Jose Camilo is here. He's the security manager at the Hebrew Home for the Aged in Riverdale, but his speaker is not working, or his microphone is not working. So welcome, Jose. I'm glad to have you here, and glad to have the Hebrew Home here, and glad to have Riverdale involved. And we'll hear from you when you can talk. Karen.
It's funny because I reacted before to Karen. It's funny that there are two Karens, and I'm sorry for both of us that were called
Yes, there
Karen.
are, and she's right above you on my screen.
Hi, everybody. Nice to see you again. I'm from Sheree Tefila in Bedford Corners, and we have a couple of projects that we are moving on. Particularly, the most important one for us right now is on controls related to heating and air conditioning, and we have a total mishmash of just like the worst systems, and we want to get moving on that, and we are exploring other ways to reduce our footprint through heat pumps, to replace our oil heating. We are really looking at that. We're thinking about, we have, that's a very large number also, but we want to try to see what we can do to reduce our oil use in a huge way. On a smaller scale, we planted some trees after a Tu B'Shvat fundraiser, which was an exciting sort of way to get people involved. So it's interesting because it has less impact, but it's more visible to the congregation. So we're trying to match and trying to do both of those things. And we are writing. This is probably like a very overarching important thing, is that we're writing this sustainability philosophy for our congregation, and we have people who are going to contribute to different parts of it. But when you really break it down, there's so many ways that we can do the wrong thing, and that we have been doing some bad things, but then, so that we want to just make sure that we give Temple leadership some guidance. So that's what we're
Which
where
is a
we're- that's where we're-
challenge. Understood that, getting through the bureaucracy to the hierarchy is one of the major challenges of making institutional change. So bravo for you.
I will say we have no resistance.
Oh,
Having,
superb.
we have no resistance. I mean,
Until
from a
you present them
philosophical
with the
point of view.
bill, right? Until,
Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, no question, there will be some financial considerations, but who isn't dealing with that?
Yeah, super. Okay, look forward to hearing what you come up with. Ellen.
Hi, good morning, everyone. It's great to see you all and to be together again. So I missed the first couple of minutes, but I've caught on that we're trying to single out some of our goals and talk a little bit about what we've been up to. I am on the green team at Temple Israel Center in White Plains. I live in White Plains. I also spend my full-time job in this work. So, there's a lot of spillover. And Temple Israel Center green team has had a little bit of a bumpy road. We've had a change in executive directors over the last, I would say, 6 or so years. And it has impacted some of our work because it was very much relevant to the movement of the green team, as our former executive director, who passed away a number of years ago, was part of the Greening Fellowship, Jewish Greening Fellowship cohort. And it really helped to facilitate a lot of the change that, when people talk about obstacles in the bureaucracy, we cut right through it and just got right down to business. So it's been hard because we've had a few interim people and they haven't been involved. And we have a new person that came on during the pandemic. So I would say we've had some accomplishments over the years that I've talked about in past meetings. This past year and a half has been rough during the pandemic, but our focus has mostly been on some of the online educational programming that has been at least possible to kind of keep things moving along. We did a program with Rabbi Nina Beth Cardin about the tshuva that was passed by the conservative movement on sustainability. And it was great because we were able to join together with 2 other synagogues and their clergy to kind of engage on that, and materials were shared. Also, we had a great program with Harriet Sugarman, who's the author of How to Talk to Your Child About Climate Change, and I recommend it to everyone, no matter what your age is. And she's amazing, and it was a great talk, and it was super inspiring, and it helps to activate. So in terms of where we're going, we have a long list of things that we'd like to accomplish, but one thing that really has drawn our attention is joining together with our Tzad Kadima group, which is a committee that was formed to address racism. And they've had an amazing, aggressive program this past year throughout the pandemic. And one of the topics was environmental racism. Well, if we're going to talk about it, we better walk the walk. And we have had some conversation about really pushing the issue of food scrap recycling, which has fallen off a little bit, fallen through the cracks. It was a major piece of accomplishment at Temple Israel Center. And we're not only going to look at it from that perspective, but we're looking at trying to have a big public awareness to get members to actually adopt those practices themselves, because I would say at least half the municipalities now in Westchester have a program in one form or another. And to try to connect the dots around that issue as it relates to right here, the environmental racism right here in Westchester.
So Ellen,
incinerator.
one of the things that you'll see on my list of thoughts that people might focus on is advocacy, countywide or townwide advocacy. And I would love to talk to you about what you're talking about. I think that's super important that it come to
I'll
the
just add
forefront.
one note that a new alliance has formed. So this might be of interest to individuals or organizations or groups that are embedded here. It's called the Westchester Alliance for Sustainable Solutions. And part of it is devoted to the solution side of diverting the waste stream, but part of it is the public awareness around the environmental justice community that is deeply affected by that incinerator and how to address that issue. And we're working with that group. I am working, full time on that, but that's part of the engagement of and the importance of faith groups and houses of worship across Westchester, including the people who are in this group right here who can be helpful in pushing that forward.
Spectacular. That's really spectacular. Thank you. Thank
Marty,
you. To be continued. Yes.
Marty, can Ellen explain what she means by environmental racism? I don't.
Sure. The issue of the link between environmental exposures and public health is a big focus of the work that I do. And a lot of the infrastructure, no matter what it is, whether we're talking about waste, whether it's landfills, incineration, or that we're talking about energy, the fossil fuel infrastructure where we have gas pipelines and compressor stations, waste transfer stations where there's a lot of trucks pulling in and shifting materials. A lot of those, by and large, primarily they're sited in communities, low income and communities of color. And
I can interrupt you for a second, Ellen. I'm sorry, but you just brought to mind an easy way to put it. I heard a speaker long ago, an African-American activist in this issue, and he said, when you put your garbage out, a truck comes and it takes it away. He said, I live in a way.
That's exactly.
So that's exactly the point. The problems go where
yes,
it's not fair, where the problems result.
And not just garbage, but everything.
Many things, yes. I live in a way really made a big impression.
I think it's absolutely a great
way to
describe it in this fewest words. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you. Alan Greenberg. I don't know if there's another Alan.
Yeah. I'm with Bethel Synagogue in New Rochelle. I've been there a long time. We have a green committee, which has been active. I don't mean active in terms of doing a ton of things, but active for a number of years, for like 3 years, I guess. So we worked on a journey right before the pandemic, or maybe for a year before the pandemic, to try to get a program in place for food scrap composting and compostability of all the tableware and utensils and everything that goes around in the synagogue. The first effort was really focused on the Kiddush, which is more than 200 people probably every week, and used a ton of plastic and everything else that just went in the garbage, the trash, so to speak. So we did implement that in the January, right before the pandemic. The pandemic started in March in that January, so we went on for a couple of months, and then the pandemic started. And not much going on in the synagogue, certainly not food-wise, just like everywhere else. So that was a serious project, and is a serious project, and that did get implemented. So piggybacking off that, I worked with the person who runs our camp. There's a day camp at Bethel in the summer, which has over 200 children. In a regular year, maybe 250, 300. In the pandemic year or whatever, but over 200 and about 70 staff up to 100 staff. And we made that this summer, I would say over 90% compostable in terms of the lunches and everything else, which is more than equivalent to the kiddish stuff anyway, with all those people, and it's 40 days of camp plus things at night and things like that. So we piggybacked on that and implemented that in a very cost-effective way by changing the way we do things, obviously using the right utensils and tableware and all that, but managed to do it at a lower cost than it cost us before in a non-compostable way. That's pretty, the synagogue has had solar panels for more than 10 years on top of the synagogue. And not a whole lot else is going on right now because, you know, like everything else, not a whole lot is going on. There's been services. Services
Right,
since July of 2020. So from a services standpoint, there's things going on, but from an events in the building, other than a nursery school and a camp, there's not a whole lot going on of regular people and learning and the classes and events and all that. Although I did run a Israeli Film Festival over the summer in person, but that doesn't generate any waste or anything like that.
No. All right, it'll be a challenge for you to think of what more you can do. I know your synagogue's in the vanguard. So to be continued, thank you. Who are we left with? Jose, I'm assuming you still can't speak, so we'll talk to you next time. Beth Rosen? Beth, are you there? Maybe, yes, she is, okay.
Hi, sorry.
Hi.
So I'm not sure, I don't represent, well, I'll just tell you what I do and why I'm in any event kind of listening in on all of this. I'm a Temple Israel Center member, and I work with them on the Hungry and Homeless Fund. So we address, you know, all of the food issues and homeless issues by donations. I'm also an art and nature educator. So I work at Bethel Synagogue, and I do nature education at Sheldrake. And I think the reason that I always have my ear to this conversation is because I teach children and I want to know what's going on. So for instance, the third grade has an emphasis on, Bal Tashchit, our responsibility in the world. And so I think that I'm kind of reaching it from the other end. How can I incorporate the ideas that they can see all around them in their own institutions? And also, how do we generate in children a sense of the importance of this work and these values? So that's kind of why I'm kind of
Great.
listening.
And it would be terrific to have a project this year as part of this endeavor that is involving
So
the
that
children.
is where the Hungry and Homeless Fund connects with the Sa'ad Kadima.
Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
that's what I was thinking. Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
Terrific. Okay, to be continued. I love that. And finally, Robin Rosenberg.
So actually, I'm trying to do work at the same time. I'm kind of sitting in, so I'm going
Sorry.
to talk very quickly. I'm
Okay.
going to talk very quickly and go back on mute and video off. So I'm from the Greenbrook Hebrew Center. I'm on the green team. I'm not sure of the green team, so I can't speak of everything, but I know we're doing something with Hazon. We're part of that SEAL thing, part of that program, so working on that. We did solar panels a number of years ago. Those are doing great. They've done things with the lights, the LED lights. Those are in place. I don't know much about the heating or the cooling. That's not my thing. We do recycling if we can. We kind of redid our compost system last year. We put in this big composter a number of years ago, and it got filled up, and then we didn't know what to do with all the compost. So nobody wanted it. But then Untermeyer in Yonkers, the Untermeyer Gardens, someone made a connection there, and they actually came and took all the compost away, which was actually great because, they're doing a lot of renovation there and gardening and everything. So that was really amazing. So they took all the compost. And then what we did is instead of having this really big composter, somebody created, he's an architect, he created like more of a smaller wooden type of compost bin that hopefully won't get, too overflowing, and maybe people will take from that. So that's in place in the back of our parking lot. And we even had the kids, like one of the kids last year, one of the school groups, like painted it, and then they put like Camp Ramah, they wrote whatever compost is in Hebrew or whatever, they painted that on there. It's kind of cute. It's like a Ramah thing. Anyway, so we have that. We are doing some kiddishes now. It's kind of a challenge because, with COVID, everybody wants everything individualized. So we have all this plastic that's coming out of the kitchen, which is kind of making us crazy. So there's kind of we're kind of a difficult situation now, trying to keep safe for COVID, but have some kiddish, but, being environmentally friendly is kind of taking a back seat in many
Yes.
ways. So we're wrestling with that right now. And I bring my water bottle all the time to synagogue, and then they still put out water bottles anyway. But, so that's kind of where we're at right now. And if somebody
Okay,
can help me with the
thank you.
plastic, that'll be great. So I'm going to go turn back off now. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you very much. We'll see you
Sure.
next time.
Sure, thank you.
Okay, the council committee, let's start with Jack briefly. Explain who you are. You're new to our committee. Welcome.
I'm new to the board and new to the committee. However, I have Bob, and Bob has been representing our green team, which I am on. So Bob already spoke about our farm at Congregation Sons of Israel in Briarcliff. In addition to that, we have solar panels all over our entire flat roof. We've had that for probably about a decade as well. By the way, we didn't pay for them, but on the other hand, we don't really derive a whole lot of revenue from them either. But in any case, we have our solar panels. We went into recycling. We've changed our light bulbs now pretty much twice at this point, first to compact fluorescent bulbs and then to LED bulbs. One thing that that was something that we did a long time ago and probably should look into doing this again, is actually having a light bulb fair. We had someone come in with lots of different light bulbs. We opened it up to the whole congregation. And a lot of our congregants came in and sampled light bulbs and bought.
That's
It was
great.
a little bit of a fundraiser, but I think these days you can do that much more economically, probably even through Con Ed, get great deals on light bulbs, and sort of you can even do a buy one for yourself, and in the purchase price it'll pay for one for the shul. And you can
That's great.
use that to help swap out all of your bulbs. That's another item that.
Okay, let's give, because our time is tight, let's
yes,
give
please.
Bonnie a chance. And next time we'll talk about specific projects like that, because we're going to need ideas from each other for sure, for whatever everyone's project is going to be. Thank you, Jack. Bonnie.
Hi, everybody. It's nice to see you today. I know a lot of you, and some of you I'm glad to meet for the first time. I'm Bonnie Hagan, and I lead the Green Team at Congregation Kol Ami. And I'm just going to rattle off a list of things that we've been working on in the past few months. I'm going to go fast. It's extensive, but I just want to let you know that this is also my profession. I do this as my day job. So if anybody is interested in any help, I'm happy to help you. One of the biggest things that we've been doing is focusing on plastics recycling. We're working with trucks, so we have the whole congregation collecting plastics, and then every time we get 500 pounds, we get a brand new Trex bench for our campus. We're on our third one already, so we're really happy about that. We've created pollinator gardens and vegetable garden, and we just harvested about 50 pounds of vegetables, and we've been donating them to the food shelters. We've been donating all along, especially since people lost their jobs during the pandemic, and we're really glad that they're taking a lot less now, so it's showing that things have been turning around. We're also investigating electric vehicle charging stations. There's a huge amount of money out there from Con Ed that will fund the infrastructure for it. So I'm happy to help anybody with that too. I'm so glad to see that Shalom is looking at community solar. I've been trying to get that accomplished for years at Kol Ami. The issue is the land, the large piece of land, and what we do with it. So I'd like to speak with you about that some other time. We're also looking at waste and water management. We're looking at retrofitting our water fountains so that they can accommodate the big water bottles so people don't have to use single-use plastics. We've also, we're also planning for Earth Day 2022. And I know you were speaking about environmental racism before. One of the movies that we're going to be showing is Unbreathable, about about the air in some of these away neighborhoods. So, we'll be promoting that when the time comes, so keep a lookout for that. And we've also received Sacred Ground certification from the National Wildlife Federation. We've been creating, like I mentioned before, these pollinator and butterfly gardens, and we have the certification, and we're in the process of going for interfaith power and light certification regarding all the work that we've done, not recently, but a few years ago, on upgrading all the lights to LED lights and all the HVAC to more energy efficient HVAC and building controls. So that's a lot.
It's fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, if anyone wants to know more about any of those, I'm happy to talk to you about them.
Yes, I'm sure people will, and I do, particularly the nature certification. That's very interesting. Fabulous. Okay,
Maybe you
Milas.
put your contact information on the chat.
Yes, I was going to, by the way, recommend everybody take a look at the chat before you sign off the meeting, because there's a lot of interesting information has been added to the chat. And thank you all for that. I am feeling very old because everything I'm going to say about my background is what I did in the past long ago. I was the executive director of the Riverdale Y when greening sort of became a thing. And I sat on the steering committee of the formation of UJ Federation's Greening Fellowship, and did that for a number of years with Rachel Jacoby Rosenfield, if anybody knows her. Also, as I said, with Hazon on the sustainability SEAL project, I was helpful in forming that. And also the Jewish Climate Action Network of New York, which is based in Manhattan. I sat on their steering committee for a number of years as they got rolling. So that's all past, but now I'm doing this, and greening has been my passion for years and years. One of the things, Bob, you made me, I think it was Bob, made me think of was at the Riverdale Y, when I was exec, we ran a greening fair each year, and we did things, Jack, you were the one who made me think of it, like the light bulbs, when LED light bulbs first came out. And we also had hybrid cars when they were brand new. I remember we had a car show at one of our green fairs with the very first edition of the Toyota Prius and Camry came, and et cetera. So my experience is aged, but greening has been one of my two passions, the other one being immigration. So I'm very delighted to get this rolling, and I think you get a sense of the varied experience and the depth of projects that have gone on already throughout our county, and what else we can do. I'm hoping that once we really get a sense of what all the different projects will be, that we might even try to get ourselves some news coverage for what the Westchester Jewish community is doing as a community for climate change, this being I hope a year when the federal government does some better investment in climate remediation. We'll see what happens in Congress. So with that, I am going to close us out unless anyone has anything urgent to say. We'll meet again on November 10th. Yes.
So Sonia Kleinman just joined us. So Sonia is from CSI already. So Sonia, we've already gone through what we've done at CSI. Bob is also on, but just wanted to introduce you.
Yes, thank you. So welcome, Sonia, and to be continued. Yes, Elizabeth.
Sorry, if somebody has any information on the use of compostable products versus the environmental impact of washing reusable dishes, I would really like to know, because I still think that compostable dishes is not zero waste, and I say that at every meeting.
So yes, do that offline, but I would bet Ellen or Bonnie or who knows here has information on that. Okay, November 10th at 10 a.m. If you would send, even if it's just a sentence of what you're thinking about, send your proposed project, or maybe a draft of, you're not really sure yet, but you're thinking of X, to Pam in advance at the council, in advance of our next meeting. So we have a list to circulate and something to start talking about. And the way we'll do it at each meeting is just pick 2 or 3 people so that you have more time to talk about your project than this quick 5 to 10 minutes, but 5 minutes each probably. We won't be so rushed. So thank you, everybody. I'm glad we're getting this started, and already am very inspired by what people have done, and I'm sure will be by what we're going to do in the coming year. So thank you. See you in a few weeks. November 10th is soon.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Marty.
Take
Good week.
care. A pleasure. Delighted.
Marty.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.